Hi, welcome to this video, and this is the first part of my restoration of my Hallecrafters SX25 multiband radio from 1941. I checked the serial number, and this is an early version of the Hallecrafters SX25 Super Defiant multiband radio. So yeah, I got this on eBay. All the way from Connecticut, came to Vancouver, and it got a little bit dented, but the thing's like a tank, so nothing inside was damaged. You can see the corners a little bit damaged. I knocked it out a bit. Since I got it, I've spent a lot of time cleaning it. So I've been using toluene, which is the chemical. You need a lot of ventilation if you're going to use toluene, but it doesn't damage the paint. And so I've been using toluene and to clean the case, which is quite dirty. It looks like maybe it's cigarette smoke or oil or grease or something. So a lot of junk came off the case, and it looks like a nice dry gray now. Like it's a nice. It feels nice and clean. So yeah, the case, I've spent a lot of time on the case. I pulled those dials off. As you can see, I took the case off of the base, and there's a bunch of bolt screws, and you take the screws out, and then the case comes off of the main radio, and also the two vents have come out. The two side vents have come out, yeah, and then the case, it can further come apart. The top lid comes right off, like you can take that whole top piece off, and the back comes off, and that separates from the front and the sides. And then you can clean the inside of it, which I've been cleaning, and it takes a little bit of elbow grease and some toluene. And I also used baking soda and a scrub pad, and a little bit of dish soap, and for the nasty stains, because basically it gets really hot inside, and the tubes kind of sort of where the tubes were heating up the side of the case, it was really gunky, and it's a lot cleaner inside now. So it's clean everywhere, and also you can see the inside I cleaned as well, like the bare metal surfaces have been cleaned quite a bit. So yeah, so I've been cleaning, and everything comes apart. The dials come off. The S meter needed to be there was rubber grommets that are in the tuning, around the tuning area. There's some rubber grommets, and the rubber is all hardened and cracked. And there's also rubber grommets around the light bulb that goes into the S meter, and the rubber had broken off and actually jammed the S meter. And the other problem with the S meter is that the markings on the there's sort of a disc, a plastic disc with the markings on the S meter, and it cracked in half, and it was taped together. So I took the tape off, and I actually tried to get all the adhesive off, and I ended up damaging the markings a little bit, so it's not perfect now. But then I ended up using two-part epoxy to glue the back of the S meter together, and then it's all back together now, and it's all clean. And the plastic, the clear plastic screens on all of the dials, they came out nice and clean. The plastic dials themselves are still pretty yellow. There's two problems with this radio. You can see those square things that are the two square things in the left side of the video are there are actually three of them, and they're mica. They have mica caps in them that tend to go bad. And then that round thing between the transformer and the mica caps, that's a can capacitor, and that goes bad. So that's got to be replaced. And then I got to check those three square, see this three square tall sort of aluminum things? Those are the mica caps inside there, and they have to all be checked. And you can pull them all apart. There's nuts at the top, and then there's two nuts inside underneath on each one, and you pull those nuts with a socket, a small socket, and the case comes right off, and you you can work on the mica capacitors there, and they have to be replaced with modern capacitors. So this radio has a transformer system, so it's not the transformerless radio, so it doesn't have the sort of shock of death situation happening, but I still want to put a new power switch in the back and figure out which type of fuse, what capacity fuse, what size of amp fuse to use. And I want to put a new power switch in the back and an amp fuse and a new cord. And so so when it's off, when the switch off is in the back, there's no power going to anything, not the transformer, not anything. So basically those are the things. And then the last thing I have to do is you can buy a place called Hayseed Hamfest. It's a website, and you can buy a kit for the Hallecrafters SX25. It includes that can cap that's sitting there, that round aluminum thing right in the middle of the screen there. That goes bad, so they give you a new can cap, and that's hard to replace because you got to drill out the rivets. There's rivets in the bottom, you got to drill them out and then replace that can cap, and then it gives you a whole new series of new capacitors, so you have to go underneath the unit, and I'm not going to show you in this video, but you have to replace all the capacitors, the wax caps, and then you have to check the resistors and make sure all the resistors are within tolerance, and if they're not, you have to replace those. So I've got a bit of work ahead of me. This is just part one, my first video of restoring it, and I also checked all of the tubes, and you can look up each tube online, and you can find like the main filament, and you can check to see if the main filament is not burned out with your continuity on your voltmeter. So so I oiled the tuning, like there's the two sides of the tuning. I oiled that so it turns nicely, and I did a lot of cleaning, and I used baking soda as well as kind of a grit. I used the baking soda grit for like some of the hard areas to clean, and I also use a wire brush or a brass brush. I have like this really nice brass brush. It's like a wire brush, but it's made out of like brass, and it's for like suede shoes, but it works really good without, you know, being as hard as a straight on wire brush. So as you can see, I redid the tuning. One of the things I had to do was redo the tuning. So the tuning has cords, and the cord snapped. It was slipping. The tuning was slipping on one of the dials, and so I tried to tighten up the cord, and it ended up snapping on me. So I actually had this sort of it's kind of heavy duty, like wax nylon thread, heavy duty thread that I just had that I got at a discount store here in Vancouver. And I ended up using that. I don't know how long it'll last, or I don't know if it's the right stuff, but it ended up working. And there's a diagram online you can get, and this is the thread I used. You can see the bag. That's the thread I used. It's from Massachusetts, that thread. So yeah, so that's the thread I used to. You can take the top of the tuning, that aluminum top plate off the tuning. It's got 4 bolts there. You just pull those bolts and then pull that top off, and then you can have access to and then you take off there's 2 fixing screws for those dials. You can take the dials right off, and then you can put the new cord on. And there's a diagram online showing you how to redial it, like how to put the new cord on. And you can see that's the thread I used, New Bedford thread. So we'll see how long it lasts. But anyways, I didn't have any of the like special purpose thread or cord that you're supposed to use, so I used this stuff. So we'll see how long it lasts. But I was able to get it working. So you follow the directions. There's a diagram online you can get, and that shows you how to do the threads. And you got to tie it pretty tight so it doesn't slip. And once you get the thread on and tie it up, then you can test it out, and I'm going to show you that I tested it out. Basically, if you can turn the dial all the way around, and it goes from the top spot to the top spot, and you can see that there's no slippage of the cord. So as I go around, you'll see that it goes from vertical, and then when I finish it, it's right at vertical again, and that shows that nothing slipped, like the cord didn't slip at all. And so yeah, I did that with both, and they're all oiled. So that was kind of my first job cleaning. Like my first job restoring this radio is cleaning the case, taking it apart, like taking the case off the base, doing a lot of cleaning, and redoing the cord on the tuning knobs. So that's my first bit of restoration work. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to order my capacitors and my can capacitor kit from Hayseed at Hamfest, and install all those, fix all the resistors, put in a new cord, put in a switch, put in a fuse, and then cross my fingers and hopefully it works, and make sure all the tubes are working, check the transformers, make sure they're not shorted, and then the final thing is once it's working, check all the functions, and then do the calibration is the last stage of it. And I also want to do some cool stuff, like I instead of having those light bulbs, I want to try to put in some LEDs to maybe even colored LEDs to light up the dials, which would be good too because they throw a lot less heat. And also, like, I think it gets really hot because of those because of the tubes. I think it gets really hot, so I might even add a fan, I don't know. So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of work left, but I've spent a couple hours cleaning it. I still think that it's got a nice patina. The radio is in really good shape to start with, so I lucked out because I think it was one of the nicest radios out there from that era. It's like super clean to start with. So yeah, I think I got a great deal on it, and yeah, it should be a lot of fun. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little modification. So the power switch is one modification. Second modification is add some LED lights. And the third modification is I'm going to add a switch so that I can wire in another audio signal. And I can use it as an amplifier, like a mono amplifier, for another signal. So that's going to be my last modification. And then I'm going to, like, see how it works with different signals, or different sounds. It'd be cool if I could process it too with the circuit, like the tone circuit or something too. That would be really good. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. This is my first multi-band radio, and it's my first vintage 2 project. So I think it's a really good thing to learn electronics on these old radios. And it's a lot of fun, and it's rewarding too because you get to see something, a piece of history. So it's a real sort of fun little project. So yeah, I'm in the thick of it now. So I'll keep you posted, and I'll when I make a lot of progress, I will do another video to show you the progress that I've made. So yeah, thanks for watching that, and check out my other videos, and have a great day. Cheers.